And so in the first video, we learned that there were two laws, the ceremonial law and the Decalogue law. And the ceremonial law had health laws as well as prescription for various sin sacrifices and so on. And when Christ died on the cross, it was done away with, especially ones that pointed to sacrifices. But the others that dealt with health still exist today. Thou shalt not, well, they didn't say it like that, but eating unclean animals is kind of like harmful. Because their bodies were made different. They have a different biochemistry. They could eat the most putrefying piece of carcass out there, and they get healthier. And if you try that, you'll die instantly. Very soon you'll start coming down with a bacterial invasion and so on. And so the other law, the Decalogue law, the Ten Commandments, is what I'm going to look at this time. Now, the Ten Commandments, many individuals believe it was established on the Mount Sinai when Moses went up there to meet with Jesus. But no, this law is the transcript of God's character. So from whenever God existed, his character reflects the Ten Commandments. And so the Ten Commandments has always been in existence. This is the law of heaven. This is the law of the unfallen worlds. And this is the law which will be in the New Jerusalem when those of us who are saved from this world go to heaven and come back here to this recreated earth. That is going to be the law which will be established. And I'll tell you what, we won't have a problem with it because I'm tired of the murders, I'm tired of the adultery, I'm tired of the fornication, I'm tired of the lying, the whole 9 yards. But, here we are in a perfect world with a whole bunch of other problems. And so these things do exist, but we have a God we talk to and he takes care of us. But we hate those things. And so all those who hate it will find heaven a wonderful place because there won't be no murders, no more adultery, no more fornication, no more envy, no more hatred, no more stealing, etc. And so Satan in the beginning started to get evil. And he's saying that, look, we angels are holy beings. The dictates of our consciences would just be holy. We wouldn't be doing murders and envy and strife and the whole 9 yards. But that wasn't the point. The point was that it's what God says that rules in heaven, and so it has to be there. And this was one of the controversies he had in heaven. And so when he was cast out of heaven, he started to attack it because he got Adam and Eve to disobey it and ended up creating death, which is a violation of God's law. And it's the second death, not this one that we all will go through here. And so, as we said earlier, that Christ offered himself from the beginning, and he said, look, do the lamb sacrifices and the various wonders that Moses would write about until I come and destroy that system. And so, when Moses went up to the Mount Sinai, it was now that the world was becoming so evil, and people's minds were starting to atrophy, and therefore they needed things written down. And so he wrote the Ten Commandments on a stone. The difference here is that God wrote the Ten Commandments. Moses wrote those ceremonial laws that dealt with health and prescribed the sacrifices we need to do it. The ceremonial law was written in a book. The Ten Commandments was written on a stone. As I said, Moses wrote the Ten Commandments. The ceremonial law, Christ himself wrote the Ten Commandments. And they both are in the Ark of the Covenant that was in the most holy place in the temple. And also a bowl with manna, the laver, the rod that Moses used, and so on. And so it was hid, this ark was hid outside of Jerusalem in AD 70 when the temple was destroyed. And very soon it's going to be found because very soon also the Antichrist is going to show that the Ten Commandments is not the way it is. It's going to divide up the fourth, take out the fourth, and divide up another one and make it still 10. But when you compare the one that will be found in the Ark of the Covenant with the one that they will have established, you'll see the difference. And so the Ten Commandments, it's eternal. It's what all governments' laws are based on. You shouldn't steal. Some places you can't go to somebody's wife because that would be a violation. You can't steal somebody's house. You can't steal their cars or their animals. But of course, the first four commandments to deal with, they won't tell you who to worship and which day to worship, except in the Middle Ages and very soon they're going to start again telling you where you ought to worship and how you ought to worship, etc. That's the Antichrist. Um, and so, yeah, so governments now have whole 1,000 and more different ways of describing thou shalt not steal. You have larceny, you have burglary, you have petty larceny, you have robbery, violence, you have all these kinds of stuff, but all is thou shalt not steal. And the funny thing with like murder, they can't charge you for thinking about murder or even talking about it, especially if you're not equipped and ready to kill somebody. You could say, I killed you, man, and that's a freedom of speech. Guy says, you kill the president, that was okay. But as far as God's law is concerned, that is a violation. You talk about, you're thinking about killing somebody, you're already guilty of killing the person. So if the state had the kind of ability like God, in fact, in old times, the high priest wore 2 stones on his chest. And it was like judging. Did this man do this thing? Yes or no? One light will come on. He's innocent. He's gone. And I guess you could hone down and find a terrorist. You could say, is he in Asia or in North America? And you come, and then the light comes on, which part of the world? You narrow it down until you come to the street. You narrow it down until you find that guy. Okay, and that's the best system. I like that. All this kind of witness and all this kind of juror and all this waste of time and judge and all this stuff. And when they're evil and corrupt, they convict innocent people, execute innocent people. And so, that one command, thou shalt not kill. As I was saying, that when you think about killing somebody, it's okay. It's only if you attempt to, or you actually kill the person, then the law could now come and deal with you. And so also with stealing, you could also go into somebody's property building, and you just went into shelter, and then you saw they have some money, you steal it. That is not burglary. That might be larceny because you hadn't planned to go and steal. But in breaking to sleep, you saw stuff and you steal. So there you go. Again, if you are authorized to deal with the money like the accountant or the cashier, and you take some money, it's not robbery or theft and so forth. It's just misappropriation of the funds. So, but as far as God is concerned, it's all theft, and you get hell and death for doing that if you don't confess and have Jesus sort of say his blood takes care of your sins and so on. But one thing I like with the court, though, a lot of times the judge don't listen to the defendants nor the witnesses much. They listen to the attorneys, and although some of them is saying some stuff, but if you have a certain amount of I should call it leverage or ability to say certain things and so forth. And even an attorney who now becomes a suspect, he can't talk himself because the judge looks at attorneys in a certain way. And if he is a suspect in something, they don't want to hear from him. He has to hire an attorney so that the attorney whose license is on the line, if he lies and if he comes up bringing bogus stuff, he doesn't follow the rules of the court, he'll be suspended or thrown in, debarred from practicing law. Therefore, it is expected that he's going to, be honest, etc. But it's something else with these attorneys out there. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be no judge. I don't want to be no attorney that's doing a life, and so on. I want to be an attorney and get people real justice. You're harmed, I'm going to try to get you whole. I don't want to, you're guilty, you did something, and I know that I shouldn't ask you about that, but I could see along the way that if you have the evidence and you're guilty, of course, you could say, no, you want to make sure this person's rights are taken care of, and if the rights are violated, you could get it charged, overthrown, and so on. But yeah, it can be overthrown here on earth, but as far as God is concerned, he still has that. Oh, I should make this point right now. Nations and governments and police and other people in societies, especially powerful ones, they tend to think that they're the law, see? And this is the whole prescription for the demise of many empires. They came to the place where they were so sort of almost omnipotent, and they think that they could do whatever, and they could tell the UN and they could tell the judge what to say and what to do, and hey, you're innocent. But in real truth and in fact, as far as God can see, they're guilty. God knows when people are planning. They could even lock up in a vault. They could even be in a submarine under the sea. He knows they're planning. Okay, and he knows who exactly is responsible for what. Some of these conspiracies that people are charged with, it starts with the government, and then they lock somebody else up. All that's doing is creating in that state's book in heaven a whole bunch of X's, a whole bunch of wrong. And when it becomes beyond the pale, then the book is filled and God had enough of that nation and say, you know what, I got to let these folks go. It doesn't matter how powerful that nation is. They got to go. Because when you look at Babylon, Babylon was the most powerful nation at one time in the world. And the Medes and the Persians were able to walk straight into the White House and take the guy out and take him up to Tehran. And you just can't understand it. They had the crackest troops. They had some good chariots. They had the highest tech. And these folks come in some low tech. But the whole principle here was that Babylon had gone beyond the pale. And the last act they did was show sacrilegious or show disrespect to God. The instruments that God had dedicated to His service, they take it to have they entertain the hookers and the concubines and the friends and the whole 9 yards out there. And God said, you know what? He commissioned the angel to write in the world, meaning, tika, you farson. You're weighing the balances, you're from one thing, and at this time your kingdom is taken and given to the Medes and the Persians. So that all the nook they had and all the advanced this and that they had, you know what? There was a kind of stupor that came across that nation, that empire. That even the crackest troops, they were like sleeping. They're dreaming all kind of stuff. And when they woke up, it's like, it's over. All the big powerful arms gone. And they don't have nothing to defend themselves. And people say, just go home. Go home and lock the door. Don't come out until we tell you to come out. That's what happened to the most powerful nation back then. And we see it happen to the Soviet Union, in which the KGB thought that they could do what they want, man. And yes, they could. They even seem to have killed Stalin. But you know what? When they became beyond the pale, and it's ironic though, and it's so hard that the whole Soviet Union had to collapse to get rid of the KGB. But this is a wake-up call to big, powerful people, man. Listen, when God decided it's over, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, it doesn't matter how strong you are, it doesn't matter what. It's over. Some little guy, some little sick weakling will come and just push you over and it's over because God is the one that says it's over. I mean, guys with nuclear arms are thinking that, man, we're so bad. But you know what? God could make it happen that around that nuke, there's no oxygen. And even though you have oxygen-rich fuel, it still needs external oxygen to detonate and to travel in the whole 9 yards. And if God creates a package of no oxygen falling that missile, it's not going to go in. In fact, you could even change the law of physics that helicopters can't rise because as they compact in the air, it's not compacting to lift. The sea becomes not as much buoyant, so ships going to the bottom and submarines on top. You know, it would be a terrible day to see how these big powerful nations could get wasted. You know, and they don't have to, because although things are already prophesied and predicted, the Bible says that in the last days people will be losing their minds, losing the heart for fear. That's heart attacks and going crazy. I don't have to lose my heart to get a heart attack, nor do I have to go crazy with what's coming on the earth, because I'm not going to be doing the things. I'm not going to be involved in Satanism, so in opposition to God, because when God says, why should I fear when God's not there, the psalmist said. And you know, so this law thing here, it's so important to understand, because big nations think that they could violate God's law with impunity, because the United Nations and their courts going to say it's all good. You know, may I present this in another way, but take care. Be careful now.